Easter Sunday Reflection by Reverend Father Clifford Atta Anim. Kindly like and subscribe. April 20th, 2025. Acts chapter 10 verses 34, 37 to 43. Colossians chapter 3 verses 1 to 4. Or 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verses 6b to 8. John chapter 20 verses 1 to 9. Why do we believe in the resurrection of Jesus? The resurrection of Jesus Christ is the cornerstone of the Christian faith. As St. Paul emphatically stated, if Christ has not been raised, then our preaching is in vain and your faith is in vain. That's from 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 14, Revised Standard Version. The belief in the resurrection is not based on wishful thinking, but on a solid foundation of historical, scriptural, and experiential evidence. Here are key reasons why Christians believe in the reality of the resurrection. First, Jesus himself prophesied his resurrection. Jesus predicted his passion and resurrection multiple times before it occurred. The Son of Man must suffer many things, be killed, and after 3 days rise again. That's from Mark chapter 8, verse 31. Also see Matthew chapter 17, verse 22, and Luke chapter 9, verse 22. He also gave the metaphor of the temple, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up, as found in John chapter 2, verse 19. The evangelist clarifies that Jesus was referring to the temple of his body, in John chapter 2, verse 21. Second, the empty tomb. The Gospels unanimously affirm that Jesus' tomb was found empty by the women on Easter morning, as in Luke chapter 24, verse 3, and John chapter 20, verses 1 to 2. The Jewish leaders never produced a body to refute the resurrection. The claim that the disciples stole the body, as mentioned in Matthew chapter 28, verses 13 to 15, is implausible, considering the presence of a Roman guard and the fearful state of the disciples at that time. Scholarly support comes from N.T. Wright, a leading New Testament scholar, who says, "The empty tomb and the appearances have a solid historical foundation. It is highly unlikely the disciples invented a story of bodily resurrection from the resurrection of the Son of God 2003. Rather than expecting Jesus to rise, the disciples were actually confused and, pretty skeptical. As we see in Luke chapter 24, verse 11, and John chapter 20, verse 25, their slow and reluctant belief really strengthens the claim. They were not gullible zealots, but hesitant eyewitnesses, transformed only after personal encounters with the risen Christ. The very same disciples who once fled in fear, as described in Luke 24, verse 21, and John 20, verse 19, became courageous preachers of the resurrection, even when facing martyrdom. Acts chapter 2, verse 24, and chapter 4, verse 2 show us this. Clearly, something extraordinary must have happened to explain such a dramatic change, and they consistently pointed to the resurrection. Neither Roman nor Jewish authorities could produce the body of Jesus. If they had, Christianity would have been extinguished at its birth. Many of the apostles, including Peter and Paul, were executed for preaching the risen Christ. People may die for a mistaken belief, but no one willingly dies for what they know to be a lie. As cited by scholars, Sean McDowell, in The Fate of the Apostles from 2015, examines how the willingness of the apostles to suffer and die really does affirm the sincerity of their resurrection testimony. Once a fierce persecutor of Christians, Paul's encounter with the risen Jesus on the road to Damascus, as described in Acts chapter 9 and Galatians chapter 1, radically changed his life. His letters are actually some of the earliest testimonies of the resurrection, found in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 3 to 8, written within 2 decades of the event. Despite intense opposition, the Church grew rapidly in the Roman Empire. The resurrection was always its central message, as shown in Acts chapter 2, verse 32, and Acts chapter 4, verse 33. Believers endured torture and death rather than renounce this truth. The New Testament accounts of the resurrection do not read like legends or fabrications. They include minor variations in details which actually supports authenticity rather than fabrication. And the witnesses express fear, doubt, and awe, hallmarks of genuine human experience. As historian E.P. Sanders noted, that Jesus' followers, and later Paul, had resurrection experiences is, in my judgment, a fact. What the reality was that gave rise to the experiences I do not know. Life messages, living as resurrection people. Christ's resurrection invites us to leave behind the tombs of sin, addiction, discouragement, and despair. In Christ, we are new creations, as it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. So live joyfully with the confidence that the risen Lord walks with you. The awareness of the risen Jesus' presence gives us strength to lead disciplined, holy lives. As St. Paul writes, "If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above," from Colossians chapter 3, verse 1. Jesus' resurrection affirms the dignity of the human body. Let us honor our bodies by keeping them pure and holy, and serve others as temples of the living Christ, just as it is written in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 to 20. Become transparent Christians, reflecting Christ's light through selfless love, mercy, humility, and forgiveness. Each time you overcome temptation and extend charity, you proclaim the resurrection in your life. God bless you.